Well, it's that time of the week again. Yep, Zeztz, episode 10, entitled Vanish. If you remember, I didn't like episode 9 at all. I hated it. It's by far my least favorite episode of the entire series. Easily a 4 out of 10, if not lower. But this episode actually kind of won me back in a weird way. Let's just jump right into it. So, obviously, the little explanation / catch-up recap bit that plays at the beginning of every episode just reminds us that, hey, Nox stole the recovery capsule, and that was literally the only important thing that happened last week. Good. And so, by natural, I get straight into the dream. As Baku skydives, unironically, like the most spy thing he's ever done this entire show so far. And he starts running, trying to get to his location, find his mission. As he stops outside a house, and I just find it funny how, in Japan, almost all their homes have, the family name or the person who lives there on the side of the building. And I just find that weird as somebody, who lives in America. And in this dream, he is casted as the housekeeper, which is a nice version of expectations. If they were going to make anybody into housekeeper, I would have expected it to be Nim, but they didn't do that, so props, I guess. Ooh, skipped right over it. As we see, you get this fancy piece of artwork and the associated art collector. Baku comes in, explains that he's the housekeeper. I find it kind of cute that, he's just labeled as 7 on his badge, which is, his code name. Yeah, I just thought they would give him, a false identity or something. So, the art collector takes Baku just on a mild little tour of the house so Baku, as a housekeeper, can kind of get situated with things. And the guy just basically explains that he really likes art. And this week's mission is get back the national secret, which is, such a leap. The first couple ones were very simple. Stop the bomber, protect the bride, escape with the prisoners. The last 2 missions have been kind of insane. Stopping a biological weapon and recovering a national secret, that's true James Bond type stuff out here. And so, as the owner probably, goes off to admire his art collection or something, Baku begins to ponder, okay, the secret's gotta be somewhere in here. And he gets kind of suspicious because there's an open window. He's hey, who goes there? And he runs into what kind of looks like a mannequin of Nim. It's it's fine, right? She's just a cute little mannequin designed to look like the famous model. And then she scares the living shit out of him, which is really funny. And so they start flirting, which is really cute. And then all of a sudden, they hear the art collector scream in panic. And so they run off. Also, I find it kind of funny that when they run off, Nim runs before Baku, yet Baku arrives to the, private art room first. But we see that a thief has stolen the painting, and moreover, that painting actually contains the national secret. And then we get to the intro. I kind of like how so far each episode kind of has a format, 3 to 4 minutes go on, and then the intro plays, and then from there on it's basically just the entire episode unbroken. And I like that. So we're still in the dream world, and Baku's okay, so if it's hidden in the work of art, then it means we not only have an art thief, but somebody trying to invade politics or whatever. Also, this episode is entitled Vanish. And so Nim plays along oh, I get it. We gotta get the painting back. So Baku whips out the little visor thingy, which I find it funny. I like the 3 main Zeztz gadgets: the camera, the sensor, and the little visor thingy. He uses the sensor the least. He's only used it on 2 missions so far. And one of them, it did nothing. We just saw him place it. So so far the rankings in terms of least to most used, it's the sensor, the visor, and then the camera. So he uses the visor and he discovers a set of tracks or some sort of like debris left behind by the guy that robbed the place, and so they can probably use this to track the guy, which brings them outside, and they decide, you know what, let's just continue following the tracks. So they go up to a rooftop where Baku suddenly tackles Nim because Nox is here. Whoop-de-doo. And immediately Baku's just like, can I have my capsule back, dog? You stole it from me. And Nox literally just goes, nah, you don't need it. But Nim has an interesting little theory that she thinks Nox might be like her, thanks to something he said back in episode 8. That being that he's someone who can only live inside dreams and can't wake up. But Nox kind of ignores Nim's little theory, instead just states that Baku should drop this mission. And so he's like, okay, does this have something to do with the painting? You know, stealing the recovery caps, and does it do something towards those paintings? But through the power of dream magic and something else, I don't know. And Nox ends up shooting him like right in the shoulder, which looked very painful. And instead of killing him, because I guess we can't do that 2 weeks in a row, he just kind of wakes up very panicked. And we also see that in the middle of the night, art is mysteriously vanishing from galleries, as Baku catches up with the 2 detectives on what's been going on. And despite being painted across 3 different eras, they all seem to portray the same flower type. And Baku notes that the painting from the dream also showed the same flower. So Fujimi acts as the lady detective once again. Once I start remembering and actually learn how to pronounce her name, I'll start using it. But as of right now, I'm just gonna call her lady detective still. But she does find it and notes that, much like the other paintings, it dropped off the radar about 30 years ago, and the other 2 were recently recovered, meaning that there's something linking all these 3 together. And Baku's like, okay, so these paintings are probably at the center of this black case. And Baku falsely assumes that the art collector is actually the true owner of the paintings. Meanwhile, the lady detective's like, shouldn't we focus on the physical evidence, such as these white footprints? But Baku just notes, oh hey, those were in the dream too, so this has to be a nightmare. And he also informs him, hey, there's a mild possibility that a secret is also hidden in the paintings. And I get why we need to continue to reiterate that, you know, having the nightmares invade the real world is a bad thing. But it can get a little tiring having to bring that up every single week. So after the 2 detectives leave, Zero wakes up and is like, bruh, we kind of gotta be doing stuff. This is like a really important mission. And so he's like, you know, there are things you can also do while still awake. And Baku falsely assumes, oh, it's gonna be like, I get to be fancy and have high-class invitation. And he's like, not exactly, but close. As we see Baku pose as a member of, the National Art Society or something. Does it say it on here? Society for Art Preservation, that's the word. As we also see the 2 detectives with Baku interviewing 2 different galleries. And he notes that, oh, the painting just kind of dipped on its own. And the lady detective notes down that because white footprints were seen at both crime scenes, it's very likely to assume they were perpetrated by the same guy. And so they asked a reasonable question, how valuable was a painting stolen? And the guy said it was actually so rare and valuable, he hadn't even put a price on it yet when it disappeared. And then he tells him, oh, by the way, it was donated. And so he starts looking through the list, only to see that the person donating it is Fujimi's missing partner, aka the guy who eventually becomes Nox. And on top of that, Baku also finds out that the painting at the other gallery was also donated. And the poor art collector's like, man, it got donated to us, so I feel really bad that we lost it. And so Baku naturally assumes, oh, clearly the art collector must have donated it, right? And the guy's like, oh, yeah, no, I've seen him around here, but he didn't donate it. No. Turns out the guy was actually just, like, really wanting that painting. And the museum curator basically explains that he kept turning down the guy, but the art collector just didn't want to take it. So they trade the info about each paintings, how they were both donated, and about the art collector. And Baku properly draws together that the dreamer is actually the art collector, who just simply wants these paintings because he can't have it in the real world. And he wonders, if he's just an art collector, then why would he be so concerned with the national secret? There has to be something more here. Either way, it's time to get some brand new toys. As he pulls out the barrier capsule, which is green much like Recovery, as well as a new purple capsule called Wonder, which weirdly enough only contains, quote-unquote, a mysterious power. Also of note, Barrier's ability sounds really broken. Again, like having an impenetrable defense, just how are you ever supposed to get around that? And whilst he's picking up the new capsules for later use, he asks Zero, oh hey, do capsule colors actually mean anything? As a matter of fact, they do. And we see that Nox's journal, back from like the 5th episode or the 4th episode, does indeed relate to the capsule colors like I had previously theorized. So red is for physical enhancements. This is like impact and wing. Blue is for technology and culture. This is why Stream has the upgrades for, what was it, illusion? No, not illusion. Projection and machinery. Green is will and mind, which is a little weird. That has to be like a mistranslation because neither Recovery nor Barrier seem to fit that description. But hey, you know what? It's whatever. And lastly, purple is for reality control, which we have not seen yet. So, and Baku tries to like get more capsules out of it because he now knows what the colors mean. And Zero just goes, hey bro, don't be greedy. And Baku finally tells Zero, oh, by the way, I lost a Recovery capsule. And as Baku steps out the closet, his sister's there, and she starts like pressing, what are you doing in the closet, boy? It's really funny if you actually watch the episode. So as the sister leaves, Baku hears a little ding, 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 ding on his window. Turns out it's Fujimi and his partner trying to break in. So she explains that they were checking social media, and they actually found the art collector's public profile, where he was interacting with an account named Knight that was requesting information on the paintings. And then they dropped a truth bomb. Oh, by the way, the missing partner, yeah, he's actually the one that donated the paintings. And so right before they run off, they hand Baku a file, and he gets caught up to the idea that, oh shit, Nox is the missing guy. Yeah, and so now fully comprehending what's going on in the stream, almost fully comprehending, Baku jumps right on in. I just really like this. It's a very interesting direction to take the episode. Like, weirdly enough, I noticed that like these past couple episodes have been doing some really odd directing things that like none of the other episodes do. But I'm not complaining. I find it interesting. So back in the dream world, Nim is immediately there to greet him. And he's ready to just go straight into the case and solve the mystery, as Zero's waiting outside for him. And he and Nim get to ride the bike together. And I love their dynamic. It is so adorable, and I hope they get to be a couple in the end game. Like, I hope they get together because they're just so cute together, man. No, but anyways, we get a nice little establishing shot as we see the Nightmare put up the 3 paintings and use his powers of mold to start corroding the paintings, causing 3 mind doors to open at once, which is quite a lot. So far in the show, we've seen the mind doors usually depicted in sets of 3s, a couple depicted in sets of 2s. This is the first one we've seen in a set of 4. Alright, and as the mold starts eating at the paintings, Baku and Nim break in. I find it cute that she's with them, because, I mean, how often do main riders get to actually, like, ride the motorcycle and get to do cool action stuff with the female lead behind them? Not very often. And so he stops the bike going on a very cool little spin, and it's time to put that shit on as he transforms into Impact form. And I gotta say, it's nice seeing Impact. It feels like it's been a while, but that's only because I'm watching this week to week. You know, if I was binging, I'd be like, Impact wasn't that long ago. Here, watching it week to week, I'm like, oh my god, finally, yes, Impact, woohoo. And then again, the suit is so clean. And so as he starts fighting off the mold monster, we also get to see the LED strips on the suit, which is super cool. It reminds me a lot of how 01 suits glue in the dark. And so during the opening of the summer movie, that was like a huge thing during that opening fight, was the suits glowing in the dark, and it looked super cool. Ooh, I like 01. And so as he, continues to put down the beating on the monster, Zeztz accurately assumes after last week, hey, it's probably not a good idea to breathe in anything these monsters put out. So he continues to fight the monster as Nim stops Nox from touching the paintings, which I don't know why. When watching the preview for episode 10, for whatever reason, thought that this was Nim stopping Baku. No, it's Nim stopping Nox, which makes a whole heck of a lot more sense. But he does not care as he immediately pulls out the big freaking cannon. And Baku's like, no. I gotta protect dreams. And so he transforms into Kamen Rider Zeztz barrier form to block the bullet and save Nim. And once again, these suits are clean, dude. I will say this, though. It is kind of lame it took this long for this form to debut, because by now I would have expected Wonder to have debuted. But hey, that's besides the point. So he creates a little nice protective barrier over Nim. And she's like, don't worry, dude. I'll protect the paints. You go beat the monster. So Baku takes this outside. As he continues to put the beating on this monster, it's really brutal, too. He did not have to do all this. Especially considering this monster did not kill him. And he also gets fucking shot in the side, which looked so painful. And I was like, damn, when that happened. And so Baku finally confronts Nox, oh, by the way, so now I figured out why you tried to stop me. You hid a national secret. And then he drops in Nox's real name, and Nox just goes, oh, that man doesn't exist anymore. My name is Nox, and I'm a secret agent that wanders through dreams. And this rightfully makes Baku question everything, because what does he mean? Agent. As the episode ends, with recovery still missing from the end screen, but Wonder and Barrier now added. I gotta say, honestly, this episode really brought me back into it. I hated episode 9, but episode 10 genuinely actually surprised me and did something interesting. Personally, if it were up to me writing this show, and not to say I could do it better, because I'm not at all a good writer, I'm very bad at it actually. But if I was in charge of writing this, I would have personally made Zero to be the missing subordinate, and so that way basically what had happened was that the missing subordinate was chasing down a black case, and subsequently Nox, only to get horribly injured or mangled or something. That's why Zero is a robot. But I guess not. So, with all that being said, though, I really liked the episode. In my opinion, this easily gets a 6 out of 10. It is slightly above average just because the fights were really good, even if the story was a touch basic. And hey, what can I say? I liked it and it did cool stuff. But that's not to say that this mission is quite over yet. No. Episode 11, which will air next week, will feature the debut of Wonder as we find out the truth of who Nox is and why he does what he does. As Zero ponders that this national secret has to be protected no matter the cost. And also, it seems like Wonder's power is shrinking, which is interesting, I guess. I don't know. Ant-Man's one of my favorite, Marvel heroes. So, fair enough. I'm really excited for the form, but it just seems a little random. And the episode is entitled Roll. Okay, sure. So, yeah, let me know what you thought down below if you enjoyed this episode. If maybe after 9, you're now just a hater of Zeztz, or if you still really like the show. All opinions are welcome down below. Remember, links to the full episodes are available in the description below. But I will see you all next week as we cover episode 11.